The Nightwings are currently going through a huge cultural shift. They went from life on the ash-choked volcano to living in the rainforest under a Rainwing Queen for what appears to be the first time in history. Not to mention Darkstalker's brief return and promise of a new Nightwing kingdom only threw their tribe into more confusion. So how are the Nightwings going to adjust? Will they always have a Rainwing Queen? Where will they live? And most importantly, how are they going to handle the inevitable return of their powers? Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, I want to talk about Nightwings, because boy do they have a lot going on right now. Also, much like Icewings, their culture is very interesting to me. While the Icewings seem to have always had, like, a stiff, formal culture, the Nightwings' dilemma was more a product of the fiasco with Darkstalker. They were so badly terrified by him that they literally moved and radically changed their culture, their entire way of life, deliberately forgetting their own powers, their identity, and imposing harsher and harsher rules on themselves even as they grew weaker. The indoctrination of their dragonettes and the strict reality that they all shared, culminating in their desperate and selfish plan to conquer the rainforest, all paint a very interesting picture of a tribe in a generations-long downward spiral. Now, against all odds, their tribe has survived, and they're looking at the possibility of a new future. But they aren't out of the woods yet, and Nightwings have a lot of work ahead of them before they can truly call their tribe stable. Now, one obvious issue that they're going to face is leadership, and where they're going to live. We see in the second arc that not everyone is too pleased with Glory as their queen, but without anywhere else to go, they don't really have many options. I think there's a chance the Nightwings may actually end up permanently tied to the Rainwing tribe, though. Moon's already had a vision of Glory and Deathbringer's future dragonette. With the Rainwing Queen likely marrying a Nightwing, that means the next heir to the throne is going to be a Rain-Knight hybrid. That's an intriguing position, because it means that there's a chance of their tribes permanently merging. We know the tribes haven't always been static. Arc 3 showed us that over thousands of years, tribes can change, disappear, or new tribes can be born. After the second Darkstalker fiasco, I think many of the Nightwings are more open to Glory's leadership, if only because they've realized they don't have any other choices. And she has been very fair to them, all things considered. I just think the possibility of a merged Nightwing-Rainwing tribe in the near future is something to consider. They are arguably the two most powerful tribes. Summed up, their powers include invisibility, poison venom, future sight, mind reading, and they do have animus magic in their tribe, the Nightwings do. Now obviously, if their tribes merge to the point of being one tribe instead of two distinct groups, some of those abilities are going to fade or perhaps be lost entirely, but it is still crazy to think about. And it's such a clash of cultures too. Both tribes were so isolated, but in such different ways. The Rainwings were living this carefree, easy life of plenty. Meanwhile, the Nightwings were scrambling to make it, malnourished and cutting away everything unrelated to their survival. Both extremes have consequences, and it's especially interesting to see how those two mindsets are mixing now that they share the rainforest. For the Nightwings, this is the first time in perhaps centuries that they can focus on something beyond simply surviving. We know from Darkstalker's book that the Nightwings used to be renowned for their sophistication. They were the first tribe to start writing scrolls. They were famous for their art, their trade with other tribes, their libraries, their architecture. Knowing this, it must have been devastating for Darkstalker to see what their tribe has been reduced to. The only scrolls they write now are prophecies or false Nightwing histories, all meant to increase their reputation to cover their weakness. The volcano was a dark, dead home, devoid of any character or beauty like the old Nightwing kingdom. But when life was so hard, how could the Nightwings have time or energy for expression or creativity? Now that they're in the rainforest, though, that's changing. Suddenly, food is plentiful. There's space, air, clean water. The Nightwings will finally have the chance to, essentially, get a hobby. In Arc 2, we already saw some of the younger dragonettes exploring new things like painting or architecture. I think that's one positive change that we're going to see. Now that they aren't so laser focused on survival, the Nightwing culture will probably start to regain some of its past vibrance. But of course, leadership and culture aren't the only ways the Nightwing tribe is going to be changing soon. And the biggest shock for the Nightwings, and everyone else, is going to be when their powers start returning. Now we know that Moon is already beginning to spread information about their powers, trying to combat decades of intentional misinformation. But she's got a lot of uphill work ahead of her, and that's not the real issue actually, as I see it. Yes, the Nightwings are going to regain their powers, but not every Nightwing has those powers. And the Dragonettes who do are going to grow up in a post-war, post-volcano tribe, likely with a lot better integration by then. It's going to be an entirely different life from their predecessors. And because of this, I don't think we're going to see the Nightwings turning around and becoming a huge threat again. No, I think the issue is going to be the Nightwings themselves, and how they handle the weight of those powers. We saw in Book 6 how horrified Darkstalker was by Moon's lack of training. Several times he was shocked and even angry because of how she'd been left alone with her powers. But the Nightwings haven't had powers for a long time. We don't know exactly how long, but it could have been as much as centuries. And everything we do know suggests they deliberately forgot those powers. So I doubt they saved any literature or knowledge on how to handle them. Just going to Jade Academy nearly overwhelmed Moon before Darkstalker began sharing how to handle her mind-reading powers. How were the Nightwings supposed to handle their own powers without this knowledge? Darkstalker, now Peacemaker, is powerless and obviously can't remember any of his former knowledge on the matter. And anyways, he himself was only a Dragonette when Clearsight left him in that mountain. He couldn't have known everything the Nightwings knew about their powers. And Foeslayer is still around, so she may know some things, but she wasn't a mind reader or a future seer herself. Her insight, if any, will be third party. She won't be able to really advise the Dragonettes who will soon be dealing with these powers. Moon, with her own experiences and her brief instruction from Darkstalker, is going to be the only dragon alive who has any idea how to handle Nightwing powers. Now, I don't know how or when the Nightwings first discovered the techniques for living with their powers, especially mind reading. But as it is, their tribe is essentially starting from scratch. We know from Moon's book that these powers can be debilitating at times. Hearing the voices of dragons around her often overwhelmed her and left her unable to focus or even separate her own thoughts and emotions from theirs, especially in times of panic. We saw it keep her up at night. And who can forget how her visions of the History Cave fire or the Jade Mountain prophecy were basically seizures? Moon totally lost control of herself in those moments, unable to regulate the vision playing in her head. I feel like the History Cave was particularly bad. She was caught in this horrible repeating loop of visions as they changed with each action she took. So these powers aren't just all fun and easy. They come with a price. And because the Nightwings have gone without them for so long, they are completely unprepared to handle the consequences of the powers they're going to end up with. It'll be interesting to see if and how Tui addresses these issues. I suppose it'll depend on what the focus of the fourth arc is and who the main characters are. But I think the Nightwing tribe, and by extension now the Rainwing tribe, have a very compelling future ahead of them. It'll be interesting to see where they go next. What do you think? Should the Nightwing and Rainwing tribes combine under Glory and Deathbringer? Do you think that would be a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think about the inevitable return of Nightwing powers, and how that will affect the rest of Pyria, and even Pentala? I didn't even get into how the Clearsight worshipping Pentalans might handle Nightwings with those same powers. If you enjoyed this video, I do have many others like it, and if you want to support me or see more of my art, you can check out the links in the description. My DeviantArt has lots of cool art, and I also have a store where you can get lots of neat Wings of Fire merch, as well as support me. Thank y'all for watching, and y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.